I fully acknowledge the fact that even though I just have a little bitty postage stamp of a lawn, some people don't even have that much space to work with. And food security, the type that you get from growing your own stuff, that's something that everybody deserves to be able to have. So, if you live in an apartment or like a duplex townhouse, something where you only have like a balcony or maybe an itty bitty bit of patio, this one's for you. Regular old shipping pallet. Happens to be one of the heavier duty ones, but that doesn't really matter. The lighter weight ones for what we're doing would work just fine, and honestly, if you have to move the sucker around by yourself, that's going to work better for you anyway. So it's just fastened to a wall of an unused attachment to my house. Okay, and what I got here is I've been stapling in this material, which is nothing more than a cut up chicken feed bag. It's this woven plastic, kind of, I call it imitation burlap because that's what it reminds me of the most. And what you're looking for, I know that there's brands of dog food that come in similar brands too, if you don't know anybody that has chickens. Mostly what you're looking for is just something that's woven like this, because this weave is going to let your excess water drain through when you put your grow medium in here, so that you don't wind up drowning your plants. Now this particular planter, I'm planning on using this one to grow my salad greens and stuff like that. And after I get this built, I've got something in mind too for viney crops, you know, like your cucumbers and your tomatoes, that will play nice with a small space too. And I managed to do all that without stapling my thumb. It's that easy. That's the whole build right there. Just cut the bag, make kind of a loopy trophy thing with it, staple it in place. I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 12-inch by 4-inch wide by, I don't know, 6 inches or so, about that deep, little planters right here. I'll be done with this in like 10 or 15 minutes. And there you have it. I got to fill it up with my compost medium, but that sucker is ready to plant as soon as the weather breaks. I'm going to build a couple more of these for some other things, but this one is going to be in full sun pretty much all day long, so it's going to be my really sunshiny stuff. So yeah, all readily available free stuff that, honestly, if you live in an urban area, it's probably even easier to get these materials than it is living out in the sticks like I do. I actually had to import pallets. So that's the equivalent of a 6-foot long crop row in the ground, and it's only got about a probably about a 4 foot by 6 inch footprint. Doesn't take up any space at all because it's up against a wall. You know, it's unused real estate, especially outside. So that's another way that you can get stuff growing on the cheap. Those pallets are free on the side of the road all the goddamn time. And those sacks, if you don't have an animal that you buy food for that comes in a usable bag, just go rooting through people's garbage. Or I guess you could be more tactful about it and, you know, ask them. All right, here's another really easy one. So you live in town, right? You have a patio or a balcony or whatever. But you go to set up your vertical garden, like I showed you a minute ago, and everybody throws a fit because you're bringing home pallets and stuff like that. Okay, so don't do pallets, do pots. These I got for free, but there's an alternative to it available on Amazon and Walmart.com and stuff like that that only costs $5 a pop. Okay, these I'm able to get because I live in an agricultural area where there's a lot of people running beef cattle and stuff, and what these actually are is these are protein supplement tubs. Ranchers buy them in the winter times just to give their stock a little bit of a extra protein kick to help them get through the cold weather. I'm going to grow my potatoes in these, and I'm going to show you how to set them up for it. Okay, so all I'm going to do here is I'm going to lay it over on its side. I'm going to take, doesn't even got to be huge, just a decent sized drill bit. Once again, if you don't have tools, you're going to have to borrow some, but it's worth it. Okay, got my bit chucked up. So your first we got to fix so that these will drain the excess water out. Okay, now your instinct is going to be to go through the bottom, but don't do that because these are going to be sitting on the ground, and if your holes are drilled in the bottom, then the ground is basically going to plug off your holes. You're going to have too much water in there and your seed potatoes are going to rot. Instead, what you do, come in through the side about that high and just space them out just like that all the way around, and you're good to go. I'm going to finish this one up and then I'll be back. Hey, here we are. We got a perforated tub. Now, while I was making this, it occurred to me that there's another free or practically free alternative to this too. 55-gallon plastic barrels. You can find those for free a lot of times. You might even be able to get one from where you work. And they're typically just blue barrels. You know, they come with things like cleaners and stuff like that in them. For doing this, they don't have to be the really expensive food grade ones. You just got to make sure that there was nothing like really gnarly in them, you know, like no petroleum stuff. But if they were just like full of bleach or some kind of bleach based or peroxide based cleaner, yeah, you can rinse that out and it'll be good to go. Hell, it'd probably be even better than this because it's going to be sterile once you get it cleaned out. And then just about halfway up, just cut it in half, do the same thing, drill the holes around the bottom so you got some drainage, and boom, you got 2 potato planters out of one trip. So keep that in mind too when you're trying to source your containers. Now that we've got our drain holes in, I got to fill in the bottom with something big and loose that my soil can sit on top of. That way, as the water works down to the bottom, it's, you know, the soil's held up so that it's not trying to sneak out through the holes and plugging them up. You got a pile of rocks right there. Probably going to use that. So I kind of overworked my shoulder a little bit drilling them holes. Figured I'd take a minute and show you something else that is going to be important to your project here. This is my compost barrel. It's just one of those 55-gallon barrels that I mentioned a few minutes ago. And I've got drain holes drilled in it. I've got some on the bottom too. And this started out last summer completely empty. Alright, what we got in here is we got a year's worth of weeds cut from along my little decorative drainage ditch there. Grass clippings out of Toby's play yard here. Oh, y'all haven't met Toby yet. He's my dog. And just kitchen scraps. In fact, we're going to move this potato out to where he can get some sun because he might actually sprout for me. That's something else too about doing this stuff. I know it's happened to everybody. You bought a bag of potatoes at the grocery store and forgot about them, or for whatever reason didn't get them used up in time, and some of them started to sprout, had little roots coming out of them. Save them suckers, because let's see if this one's got any. Yeah, right there. Focus. You see that? Now this one might have been in the compost too long and got too hot, but that's a root. Okay, so this guy, he's going to go in one of them tubs just to see what happens after I get the growth media in there. And that's another cool thing about potatoes, by the way. If you start a compost bin like this one and it's in a sunny spot and getting enough water, don't be surprised if you wind up screwing around and growing a decent crop of potatoes by accident, if you ever find yourself tossing sprouted ones in there. And composting isn't just a good way to keep yourself in usable topsoil eventually. I'll tell you right now, it's not a fast process. It'll take you a good year or two to get a decent supply built up, but once you got it, you got it. You can just keep using it. But it's also just a good way to get some more use out of stuff that otherwise you'd throw away. My compost is typically vegetable cuttings, you know, onion peels, the outer wilted part off of the lettuce that I buy for my sandwiches, lawn clippings in the wintertime, or in the fall when I start canning my vegetables. The tops and inedible parts of the plants go in there, along with coffee grounds, because I probably drink an unhealthy amount of coffee, I'm not gonna lie. And eggshells, pretty much anything that comes out of your kitchen as food that isn't meat can go in your compost bin. And you do it right, there's no stink, because there's really nothing to stink. And it'll just sit there producing good dirt that you can add to your planters every year. Or if you're cranking out a lot of vegetable waste, you might mess around and every year have enough to add another planter for free. All right, so we've built the beds.
Ow.
We put up the planters.
Okay.
We've made the tater pots. It's time to start planting some stuff. This afternoon, we're going to do some taters. Okay, what we got here is mine and Katie's 3 favorite kinds of potatoes. We got your basic russet, Pontiac red, that's an early variety of red potato.
That's my favorite.
That's Katie's favorite, and then my favorite, basic blue.
I've never had blue.
I'll show you why it's called basic blue here in a minute, because
Why is it called blue?
you'll see. Now if you look, these all got nice big eyes starting on them. We can actually get multiple plants out of each potato. All we got to do, take a ridiculously, comically oversized knife.
That is extremely dull.
Now do you see why it's called a blue potato?
Okay, no, that is not blue. That is freaky deaky purple.
Anyway, now that we split it in half, we're just going to cut it into chunks and make sure that we've got eyes
Why is
on
it
each
white?
chunk.
Looks like a layer of fat.
Okay,
It smells weird.
there.
Does it taste good?
Don't, it's for planting, not eating. I mean, you could eat it, it won't hurt you, but that's, you're eating my potato seeds.
It tastes weird.
And then we did the same thing with the russet.
Y'all will find out why the red one is called a red one here in a minute.
It's because they're red on the outside. They're normal potato colored on the inside, Katie.
Why is it so fleshy?
Because it's the best goddamn potato in the
And
world.
why is it white? It looks like a layer of fat.
Anyway,
Is that how white I am?
I'm going to finish this up, and then Katie's going to show you how to plant these. Alright, Katie's getting our cuts planted in the tub. We're doing 2 of each variety in each tub. What she's doing is she's putting them in there cut side down with the eyes sticking up. And now,
Don't even.
now she's going to very grumpily shake a little bit of dirt over the top of them just to where they're covered. About 2 to 4 inches ought to do it. And since her hands are full, I'm going to smooth it out. And then I'm going to tell her a little bit more. Oh, teenage angst. That ought to do it. And it's that easy. We've got potatoes going now. The other day, while Katie was at school, I did our first row of carrots over here in the raised bed, just for something to do, and promptly realized that that was my last packet of carrots. However, while I was in town today getting potato seeds, I did pick up more. So, over the next few days, everything that can go in now, I'm going to go ahead and get planted, and watch for part 3 when we get a little bit further into the growing season. We're going to take a break from the gardening content while we wait for dates to come around to get the rest of the stuff planted. Till then, have fun. Keep moving your needle. Alrighty, so I got the buckets drilled out and set in place. Cadence is probably going to wind up in the middle of the road before she manages to get me completely in frame, but it's not. Just stop. Get over here. Alright,
Cameraman.
what we got going on down here, obviously we've got a layer of old rotten hay. Doesn't have to be hay, you can just, you know, take your pocket knife, and if you got a unkept lot or a field close by, you can just go out and cut some canary grass. It'll do the same thing. Down here in the bottom, we got big rocks that'll let the water drain out. You can see all my holes that I drilled down there. So that's both tubs.